Commencal, and in today's video we're going to be doing a bike check on my 2022 Commencal Meta SX. Starting off, I'm going to go over one thing, the name. So I've heard Commencal, Commencal, I've heard all the names, and after quite a bit of research, I've landed on Commencal. So you guys can correct me in the comments. I don't want to start a war, but I'm going to be calling it a Commencal today. And another thing is I am not sure on the year. I am almost positive it's a 2022, but not 100%. So getting into it, it's a beautiful bike. Color's awesome. But we're going to be going into some of the stock specs real quick. So I'm going to check on my phone here. Okay, so getting into some of the stock specs here, we're going to head on into the Commencal website to read off some specs. So on Commencal's website, this is classified as an enduro bike because it has 170 millimeters of front travel and 160 in the back. So we're going to start off with suspension, which is one of the deciding features of a lot of bikes for some people. So in the front we have a RockShox Domain R. So this fork is referred to as like similar to the RockShox Zeb or the Fox 38. So it's got 38 millimeter stanchions and it's a beast. So only difference that I know of that's different from this to the Zeb is that this weighs half a pound more. Another thing is the top of the fork here. There's this little thing. It looks like there should be a cap on it, but I checked and it says there's not supposed to be, but it looks like a cassette tool fits in it. So for the fork, RockShox Domain R, 170 millimeters of travel, absolute beast, I love it. For the rear shock, we have a RockShox Deluxe Select. So it's a fairly decent shock to my knowledge. A lot of people give people hate for not having a piggyback on this shock. I know Evan's MTB Saga got quite a bit of hate for building his bike up without a piggyback. I don't really care. I've never ridden a bike that has a piggyback for a long period of time. And to my knowledge, the only thing that the piggyback does is it's a negative oil chamber, so it doesn't let the oil heat up as much on long descents. So that's not really that big of a feature that I'm disappointed not to have. And another thing, the placement of the rear shock. A lot of people refer this to like those XC bikes, those really nice XC bikes that have the shock all the way tucked up in there. That is not this. This is 100% an enduro bike, and it is not that. So with the shock having 160 millimeters of travel, it feels pretty good. I haven't done too many big hucks yet, and I'm trying not to huck the flat so I don't clap this thing out. But yeah, I would say it's a fairly nice rear shock. Yeah. Next, we're gonna get into the frame. So this frame is a 160 millimeter frame, so it's meant for 160 millimeter in the rear. And another thing that is a cool feature that I haven't played around with yet is it has a flip chip in it. So starting to become quite common on newer full suspensions like the YT Jeffsy Core 2 and probably the Core. I know the Specialized Status 160 and 140 have it, and of course this thing, and I believe a lot of the other Commencals have it. So it's a pretty cool feature. You can adjust the geometry, and the reach, I believe, is what it adjusts. So I think it's only like a half degree different or whatever. And I know the fork gets a little bit slacker when you put it in the low position. It's in the high position right now, so feels pretty good. But if I go to a bike park, I might switch it over to the low position. So the frame is aluminum. It feels pretty good so far. It does have that noise that newer aluminum frames have. I know my 2015 Trek Marlin 5 did not have that noise, and this bike does, so pretty cool feature on my part. The frame that I've heard some people comment on is right here. It's like a normal width, and then where the rear shock is, it gets a little wider. So I don't really care, but yeah. On my last bike, the rear chain, or the chainstay, was tucked up super high. It was a 2017 Diamondback A-Tros comp, and at first I was like, wow, that's weird, but it feels fine now, so I don't know, it's pretty nice not having that, I guess. And over in that region as well, we have the bottom bracket. The bottom bracket is pretty high, which is pretty nice. I actually like that. So let me check the geometry real quick. Geometry, something that I really like, is the seat tube. The seat tube is extremely steep. The steepest seat tube I've ever seen ever. Okay, it's a 78.5 degree seat tube. So that is like insane. It climbs amazing and I love it. Another degree is, I believe, the fork, or I believe it's 64.5. I believe that's how slack it is. It's pretty slack. It feels really aggressive going down the trail. So yeah. The decals. So one thing I really liked about this bike is it doesn't have a massive logo going down the side. I really don't like that, like Trek has that. I really don't like it. They kept it pretty simple. So it's got one Commencal right here, Commencal right here, Commencal right here, and on the seat tube, it's got Meta SX, and then it says Commencal Bicycles and like a Commencal logo or whatever. And then up here on the fork, it's got a Commencal logo again, and I think that's about all that they did for the decals. And I guess a big Commencal logo right there. Alright, next thing, we're gonna get into a few of the components here. So I'm gonna have to check my phone for some of these. I don't know them that well, but I think I got them handled pretty well. So starting off for the drivetrain, we have SRAM SX Eagle. So this is a step below NX, but my friend has NX and I really can't tell the difference. I think it's fine. I actually like it quite a bit. And I believe, so the cassette is an 11 to 50 tooth cassette, 12 speed, just about average nowadays. So the bottom bracket is a press fit SRAM dub. So a cool feature about this bottom bracket is it's hollow, so they make multi-tools and stuff that go into that bottom bracket. That's a really cool feature I really like having. So that's a cool feature to have. The crankset is SRAM X1000 Eagle, 170mm cranks. So they're fine to have 170mm cranks because the bottom bracket's so high, so I haven't had like any crank or pedal strikes yet. Yeah, they're still good. Maybe one little one there, but yeah, they're still good there. And the chain, SRAM NX Eagle chain. That's kind of weird. I don't know why they put an NX Eagle chain on SX Eagle, but it's what it is. So for some reason they do not have the chain ring on this. I don't know why, but from what I can remember, I believe it's a 38 tooth chain ring. So, or what did I just say? 38? No, 32. Sorry. I believe it's a 32 tooth chain ring. Alright, next thing, we're going to get into a pretty important part for an enduro bike. We're going to get into the rims. So the rear rim is an E13 LG1 DH base 27.5 rim. So I really like them so far. They feel pretty durable. First day of owning it, Buddy hopped up on the curb, classic bend, cased it. I thought my rim was for sure destroyed, like normal. Right, totally fine, beast. So I really like them. And they have a 30mm inner width, so they're pretty wide compared to my old rims. And another thing is the decals on them aren't super loud. They kind of blend into the rest. So I really like that so far. And for the hub, they are Formula DCL 348A hubs. They're Formula hubs. I don't know. I like them. They're not the loudest hubs I've ever had, and out of my friend group, I still think they're the quietest. I'm just gonna go cry in the corner now. But yeah, so that's for the hubs, and the front wheel is same thing as the back, but it's a 29er. Yep, this bike is a mullet. Super cool feature. I am loving it so far. This bike whips well because of it, and I can roll over so much. It's pretty awesome. Only thing is, I think it's due to the little bit more weight to the 29er in the front that I think I just have to get used to, and I'm already starting to, but you do get a little bit of nosedive at first, but I'm not getting it anymore as much, so I think I'm getting used to it, but that's the only thing. Otherwise, love it. And of course, you can't have a bike without tires. So these are a mismatched tire or whatever. So in the rear, we have a 27.5 Maxxis Minion DHR 2.4. In the front, we have a Maxxis Assegai 2.5. Sweet tire, pretty burly, but these things are really soft compound. So I do a lot of road riding too, just to get to the trails or to get to my friend's house. So I am already noticing quite a bit of wear in the back, so that is to be expected. Not as much in the front because I'm a wheelie master. But yeah, so yep, tires awesome. And to stop, we're gonna get into the brakes. So these are just SRAM guide tees, so they're not the best brakes ever. This is one thing that I'll get into later that's on the con side, but you know, it is what it is. They're guides. They do have quite a bit of modulation, so I do really like that feature, but you know, they're just not the most powerful. And the rear brake came out of the box needing a bleed, so that's a little sad and disappointing, but it is what it is. They do have 200mm or 203mm rotors front and back, so that is a sweet feature that is just nice. And I think once I get my SRAM G2 Rs on here, they're gonna be just insane. Tons of stopping power. Next thing, we're gonna get into some of the frame protection. That is a feature that some bikes have and some bikes don't, but it is a really common feature on the newer bikes. So coming over here, we have this burly chainstay guard. That's a really nice thing, so I don't have to wrap it in an inner tube or duct tape. So the chain slap, it's not that bad or whatever, and it makes the bike quiet. And the next part, got this like down tube bash guard thing, pretty nice as well. Another tiny thing that it's nice that they caught is on the brake cable right here. They put a little pad there, so it doesn't rub away there. And I think that's about all for frame protection. So yeah, I think it's just enough without making the whole bike rubber, but yeah. So next part, we're gonna get into the cockpit. So Commencal has their Ride Alpha in-house brand like components. So I think about all for the Ride Alpha stuff was the stem, the bars, the grips, and the seat. I think that's about all that they put on for their own. I think the rest was, oh, and the seat post. I think that's about all that is theirs. So the bars, they're not as nice as my old bars, but I think I might put my old bars on. At first I did get quite a bit of arm pump because they didn't have much flex at all. The grips that came on it, they weren't too bad, they just weren't what I liked, so I threw Aragon grips on it. And the seat, I did not like the seat. It was super bony and stiff, didn't like it at all, so I threw my seat on there. So yeah, I think that's about all. It was pretty nice, but I just swapped it out to customize it a little bit. And speaking of customizing, that is going to be the next step in this part of the bike. So customizations, obviously I just pointed out the seat and the grips. So yeah, starting off, I guess we'll get into that. I threw my Aragon grips on here, like those quite a bit. They're my favorite grips that I've ever tried. My seat, this is a random giant seat that I got off my friend's Giant, totally random, but it's the best seat I've ever had. I love it. Next, I set it up tubeless. So I have a muck-off valve stem in the front, and I have no clue what brand that is in the back. But yeah, so I set it up tubeless. I have stands tubeless in there. It came set up for tubeless, pre-taped, so it was the easiest tubeless setup I've ever done. So yeah, pretty nice to have that feature. Next customization, you might be able to notice I did a blue color theme, and the biggest part to having a blue color theme, I think, or any color theme, I think is the pedals, because they just pop. So I got Crank Brothers stamp ones. They're in the large size. Love these pedals so far. They're pretty sweet. Only thing I don't like about them is the pins were black. Within 30 minutes of riding on them, they started to turn silver. Only con I would say about those pedals, they're sweet, pretty grippy, pretty big, I'd say also. Next thing is, you guys won't be able to see that there, I have a pump here. So this is my Crank Brothers Click pump here. Love this pump, and it's got a little storage in the handle, and basically it pops out like that. And this tube comes out, it's got a pressure gauge on it, and then the click. That's where the click comes from, a little magnetic. So it does do Presta and Schrader. Awesome pump, love this thing, highly recommended. And I got some duct tape wrapped around it just in case I need it. I've already been using it. So yeah, awesome feature to have. And I threw away the little pump adapter that this came with. So I went to Walmart, bought like a $5 pump, and it managed to fit with that pump. So yeah, awesome thing. Next is the bottle cage, so we're not going to get into bottles in this video, but please don't fall over. Okay, so I just got my dad's random little meat locks water bottle cage. Probably going to get a Fidlock one soon, but I just like this one because it's blue, so I went with the blue color theme, like I said. But yeah, so that's what I have for the bottle cage, and I got my pump on there. Next thing, it's a little ugly, but it works. I have two inner tubes. I have two because it's a mullet, so 29er and 27.5. Got them strapped on with Velcro right there. So that's pretty sweet, just in case. And of course, I have my pump to inflate it. Next thing that a lot of you have probably never seen is, you might be able to notice, I have Blue Maxxis logos. So I might do a video in the future saying how I did that, but the paint I use, it fades kind of, so I'm trying with some new paints. But yeah, that's pretty nice. And with that, it's pretty much done for all the components and stuff on this bike. So we're gonna get into the pros and the cons. So starting off, we're gonna get with the cons, because there's really not many. I'd say there's only two: the brakes and the dropper. Well, lack thereof of a dropper. So it did just come with a normal seat post, and I was fine just raising it because it didn't come with a quick release. So I've been using my multi-tool, and I stripped the bolt out. So it's stuck in the down position, but I have some ways to fix it, but it's fine. And the brakes, they're not the most powerful. They're 4-piston, they're SRAM. I don't know, I like SRAM brakes, but yeah, that's about all the cons I would say about this bike. Pretty sweet. And there's one con that is not related to the bike, it's related to the company. I get the checkout, right? It says $2,600, right? Somewhere on the website it said free shipping. Apparently that wasn't for bikes. Get to the website, $400 in shipping and tax. So only flaw that I would say, just it's gonna bite you, so just expect that. Little disappointing, but I know Specialized has like $60 shipping, and I don't think much in tax, but it's what it is. I get it. But yeah, so getting to the pros, this thing is capable. It is the most capable bike I have probably ever ridden, except for like a few others, like a Yeti, you know. But I haven't actually ridden those. So this is the first, or the most capable bike I have ever actually ridden. It's a beast. It feels super capable, and I feel like I can just plow through everything. It's also a pretty good jumper. I went to a skills park, and I was hitting these big old dirt jumps, and it was so awesome on this thing. I just loved it. So yeah, that's a pro. Another pro is the price. for what you get. It's only $2,600 on sale. Normally it's $3,400. $2,600 and you get this. It's insane. Like, obviously they wouldn't charge you for shipping if you bought it from the shop. But yeah, it's just awesome. Love it. One of my favorite things about it is the color. It is a beautiful bike. I love it. And probably the last pro I could say is just the bike. It's a bike. It is awesome. It's kind of weird to say, but I just love it so much. I'm so grateful and happy that I can own this thing. Yeah, so with that, I think you know what time it is. Time to rip, baby. Let's get it. Ah! Yo! Forgot to mention this bike is a medium. I'm about 5'7", and it took a little getting used to, but otherwise it fits good. And that's about all for today's video. Hope you enjoyed. This bike is sweet. Highly recommend getting one. And yeah, it's the only video on this spec of the Commencal Meta SX out on YouTube. So hope you enjoy, and I'll catch you in the next one.